Well, Saturday couldn't have gone much better as far as I'm concerned. Cashed in with my 15-dime best bet as Florida State took care of business and wrapped up an undefeated season in Tallahassee with the win and cover at home against Miami of Florida. Then here on the video report, I had 4 official free plays, went 2-1-1 with them. You should have known I was going to take the Miners of UTEP as they covered yet again. Also scored with New Mexico. Pushed with Utah against Stanford, and did I not tell you, you had to question the Utes' motivation, especially when, as I expected, Colorado would take care of business earlier in the day and beat up California, which meant Utah had already wrapped up the number 4 seed in the first round bye in the Pac-12 tournament before they even started their game yesterday against Stanford. And the loser was Illinois, which also goes again to prove my theory that you should never really put good money on bad teams. And Illinois at Rutgers, well, you saw what happened there. And then I gave you some, I thought, excellent advice, again, in the SEC, giving you both Kentucky and Vanderbilt. And I told you I thought Vanderbilt would deliver as the 4.5-point underdog in a must-win situation and beat the Gators outright. And a lot was predicated on what would happen in terms of the Gators' motivation based on the game going earlier that would almost be over between Kentucky and Texas A&M. And that played out as well. Now, if you could only do that every single day of the year, well, hell, I wouldn't be doing this, and neither would you, because we'd all be rich. But that's why they call it gambling. There's no guarantees. Hi, everyone. DeMarco here. This is going to be your Sunday video report. Let's get to it and get to your complimentary plays. Let's see. A couple of early games, and then I want to talk about another one as well. First of all, I'm going to go with Cincinnati minus the 5.5 points at Connecticut. Now, the Bearcats, yes, they have failed to cover their last 4 trips on the road. They are coming off a win and cover at home, 65-47 over Houston on Thursday night. Of course, they lost last Sunday at Central Florida, 53-49. In fact, they've lost 2 of their 3 previous road games, also losing at SMU, nothing to be ashamed of there. And then a very lackluster performance where they had to score the final 12 points of the game to escape with a 2-point win at Tulsa, 67-65. The first meeting between these two teams in Cincinnati, the Bearcats won 82-68, and it wasn't really as close as that 12-point final margin indicated. The big men for the Bearcats, Kyle Washington and Gary Clark, combined for 47 points and 19 rebounds, and they didn't do all their damage down low. They actually went to the outside and drifted outside, hit a number of long-range shots, as the Bearcats did overall, going 12 for 26 from the three-point area. And Connecticut's bigs simply couldn't hang with them on the perimeter. And those 82 points allowed by the Huskies in that game, that's the second most points they have allowed on the season. I think 96 was the most they allowed in a loss to Oklahoma State earlier this year. And that was a departure because 10 of the previous 11 meetings had been decided by margins of 10 points or less. But listen, this is not a great Connecticut team. Yes, they were one of the preseason picks to finish in the top 3 in the AAC. But, you know, Kevin Ollie's team has been injury-riddled this season, and really the inexperience of the Huskies has shown repeatedly. And here they come into their season finale. And, you know, they certainly could use a win because it would help them with their tournament seeding. But the problem is that they once again have a lot of injury problems. Listen, their leading scorer, Jalen Adams, their guard, who's averaging a little over 14 points a game, he went 40 minutes the other night in their road loss against East Carolina, 66-62. And what are you doing losing to the Pirates? I don't care if the game is in Greenville, North Carolina or not. Shame on you. But he's been bothered by a sprained ankle. Rodney Purvis, another starter, he played with a dislocated finger. Christian Vital, it's Vital, I think, Vital. He has post-concussion syndrome, so he may not be available today. Vance Jackson suffered a concussion in that game, got ill on the flight home. He is not going to be playing today because of a concussion. So this is a short, thin team that only goes about 7 or 8 deep anyway. So Ollie's got some problems here. Now you got to question Cincinnati's motivation. How much do they care? I just have a feeling that Mick Cronin's going to want to have his team prepped and ready to go for the postseason. And after a string of disappointing performances on the road, they'll do so today. Of course, you know, I was thinking about some of the games yesterday. Butler was kind of in a similar situation. 4 straight wins going into its home finale against Seton Hall yesterday. And you would think that Butler, a team that has lost each of the past 3 years in its opening Big East tournament game, would want to build some momentum. And what did they do? They lost outright yesterday. So maybe it doesn't work, maybe it does, but I do think Cincinnati is the play in this game. Another complimentary play, it's in the Patriot League. I'm going to go with Boston University as the slight home dog, 1.5-point home dog to American. Listen, Boston U has beaten American in both of their Patriot League matchups this season easily. Outshot them, out-rebounded them, out-hustled them, outplayed them. Boston hosting this semifinal matchup after beating Loyola of Maryland on Thursday, 64-60 at home. Terriers won 76-59 as a 7-point dog on January 30th at Lehigh. They closed the season on an 8-3 roll. Lehigh beat Colgate at home on Thursday's quarterfinal game, 77-72. I just think that, it is hard for a team to win 3 straight in a regular season and in the tournament against an opponent. But when you have dominated in the first 2 matchups and you have the home court, I got to back the home team, and that's why I'm going to go with the Terriers. Another game I want to talk about today, Missouri Valley Conference Tournament Final, being held in St. Louis today. I am shocked at the line in this game because Wichita State, I would have thought the Shockers today against Illinois State would have been maybe, 3.5, 4 points. When I saw that line open at 7.5 today, I was stunned, and that's one of the reasons I was a little late on the video report today. Because listen, Wichita State has reeled off 14 straight wins since they lost in Normal, Illinois to Illinois State in the season's first go-round. Now, in the second meeting, they absolutely pulverized the Redbirds when they played in Wichita. Oops, just hit my camera. That's a bad thing to do. Winning that game by 41 points. Now, granted, Illinois State was without its second leading scorer and top rebounder, Mikhail McIntosh, in that game, but he's back and healthy now. And in St. Louis, where the tournament is held, this is going to be Wichita State's first tournament final since 2014, which is the last time they won the Missouri Valley Conference. It's a big number. Now, people always like to say, is the line trying to tell you something? Like the line has a telephone and it's calling you and saying, hey, bet me. I don't know. This is an interesting line. I think this line is trying to induce you and trap you into taking Illinois State because it's a lot of points. And these teams only lost 1 game each. And these teams are very good, damn good teams defensively. Illinois State, I think, is number 7 in the country in terms of points allowed per game, giving up 61. But, Wichita State only gives up like 63 a game. The difference is that Wichita State is a much more potent offensive team. But again, you got a neutral court situation here today. So I'll tell you what, this is one of those games kind of like my advice in the SEC games with Kentucky and Vanderbilt yesterday. I think if I had to bet this game, I would still probably lay the points with Wichita State. But again, I am stunned that this line is so big. And this is a line that if I was betting this game, I'm putting this video up about 10:45 Eastern time, this game goes at 2 o'clock Eastern, I would wait because I've got to think that the gambling public is going to think like I am, that this line is too juicy for Wichita State, and I'm going to grab the points. So if I'm betting the favorite, I'm going to wait till closer to game time and see if this line comes down. If I'm going to bet Illinois State, now is the time to do it because this line, I think, is only going to go down. So anyway, that'll do it, guys. I wish you well, and I'll talk to you again tomorrow when we do this again.